Hi 3D design students, ready to get your mind blown by adding 2 colors at once? Okay, this is going to be a little bit more complicated, but this is how you get all the pretty patterns and effects like I showed you in the previous pictures. So a couple things is you're going to be using 2 pieces of yarn at once, right? But you're only going to be using 1 needle for stitching. Your needle needs to be on the color of yarn that is on the previous row that you'll be stitching into. So for me, my previous row was white, which means I need to have my needle threaded onto the white piece of yarn. I'm going to be using this blue yarn as my next color, and I'm also going to be using this as well, but I'm not going to be using a needle with this yarn here. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have my color of yarn here that matches my row with my piece of, or with my needle attached. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking my new color and I'm going to start by wrapping it. Okay? I'm actually going to be wrapping this white piece underneath the blue and only using it for stitching. Okay? Well, that probably sounds kind of confusing, but it will make sense here in a second. Just know that when you're doing this, you do not want to use a whole bunch of long yarn. You want to use shorter pieces. You are going to be adding it more often, but it will make your life a whole lot less complicated if you're not dealing with really long pieces. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm essentially wrapping the white with the blue, but I'm also wrapping the coiling core at the same time. The purpose of this is so that I don't see my stitching. So I have my white thread here, or my white yarn. I'm going to go ahead and stitch every 5 to 6, just like I've been doing. So I'm going to stitch, pull through, okay, then I'm going to come up. And what you don't want to do is wrap over top. What you want to do is you want to wrap underneath. Right, and I'm going to do the same thing. So all I'm doing is stitching with my white and wrapping with my blue. So my blue yarn actually doesn't have a needle attached to it. Its only purpose is wrapping, and the only purpose of my white is stitching. So I'm going to stitch. When I'm done stitching, I'm going to come up underneath, and then I'm going to continue with the blue. Okay. Switch that again. Here's my white, here's my blue. I am taking the blue and wrapping it over top of the white, or whatever color you're using. So I'm essentially hiding it underneath. And then I'm going to stitch, just like I've been stitching. Go ahead and continue with the blue. Oops. Stitch. Count every 5 to 6 times you wrap to stitch. Otherwise your basket will be all loosey-goosey and wobbly. Okay, pull, and you're going to come back and continue wrapping. Okay, and you can see where I'm getting the blue, but I'm not seeing the blue stitching into my white. You can see where that happened, where I did this with the red. That's what we're trying to avoid. Okay, I did that on purpose. But you can see where I transitioned to my colors here. I transitioned from red to blue, and you're not seeing any red stitching into the blue. Just like here, I transitioned from blue to white. You don't see any blue stitching into the white. Just like here, you don't see any blue stitching into the white because I am actually stitching with the color underneath. Okay? So what I want you to do is at some point over the weekend or today, change color successfully and do an entire row in a new color, and then you're going to come back and show me Monday or Tuesday, and that's how you'll be getting points, just by bringing it in with the new color on. Okay? If you're having issues, please let me know, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Add yourself a new piece, always stitch with the color underneath. You will be using two colors at once during the time that you're adding your new color to the row with a new color here.